And we're back to learning to code. We're already in the 12th section of FreeCodeCamp. It's the HTML and CSS. And this time we're going to build a Picasso painting. It's 89 steps in total. And this is the end result. Let us start with the basic structure of our index.html. So we already know all of that. Use the doc type, the HTML with the language attribute. And we'll create a head and a body inside. Step 2, we'll add a meta element and define a char set. We also add a title. Step 3, let us link our CSS to the HTML. It's styles.css. And now we'll add another link element, and we're going to link some icons, and they have the name font awesome, and it has the same structure as the other link element that we've used. It's all in the head. And now we're in our CSS already. Let us select the body and give it a background color. And this is going to give the entire display on the right hand side, which is our browser display, this color. Step 6. Let's create a div container inside of our body. I will give it the ID of back wall. Well, now we can't see anything as there is no content inside of this container. But we are already selecting it in the next step and give it a hex code as a background color. The way to select IDs is to use this hashtag in CSS and then add the name of the ID. As I've said, we can't see anything for now because our div container doesn't have content, so we can't see it on the right hand side. But if I add, for example, some text, we can see it right here. We are still in our div container, the ID of backwall, and we'll give it a width and a height, and that should make it visible now on top of our body. And here you can see it. So we've used relative values with 100% height 60. We're still in this selector, and this time we're going to use the property called position, and we can set it to absolute. And this takes the element and allows us to adjust it relative to its container. So it becomes much clearer what that is if we manually adjust the position afterwards with the properties top, left, right, and bottom. Let's do that here. So watch what happens if I set top to 0. On the right hand side, this dark brown container now jumps to the top, and there is no spacing anymore. Same goes for left, so in this case it jumps to the left hand side and there is no spacing anymore. So we're setting it to absolute. We can now reposition that within this body. Let's go to step 10, and there is the Z index property explained. It's basically like layers in Photoshop, for example, or in GIMP. So you can stack elements on top of one another, and the Z index, it defines the position of a specific element in the stacking order. So by default it's 0. But we want to make our back wall the lowest layer, so we can give that a -1. And everything will now be on top, for as long as we don't give it a Z index lower than this. Let us create a new div container in our index. We'll call it characters, or we'll give it a class characters. Don't forget the closing tag. And now we're going to add another div container with an ID of off-white character. Again, don't forget the closing tag. We need four more div containers. And these are all nested in the off-white character, which is nested in the characters div. These four, they get a different ID each time. We need white head, black mask, gray instrument, and 10 table. And we can use these IDs and classes to select them later on in the CSS. Now here's a typo, but now we're good. Step 14. We need more div elements. And they're nested in the black mask. We'll make them eyes left and eyes right as classes. So both share the eyes class, but each gets a different left or right class on top. Step 15. Even more div containers are needed, and this time they're nested in a gray instrument. And we'll call that class black dot. I just Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to copy paste. It's easier and quicker. Let's go to step 16, and we are back in the CSS, and we are targeting the div container with an ID of off-white character, so we need a hashtag to select it, then curly brackets. We'll adjust with height and background color, and now we can finally see that. So it's this container, and all of the other div containers that we've created are nested inside. So the white head, black mask, and so forth will all be inside of this white or ghost white div container. Let's jump to step 17. We're still in the off-white character selector. We'll set the position to absolute, and now we can use top and left to manually position that. Step 18. This time we are selecting a different container. It's this one, white head. It's an ID once more, so hashtag white head. We'll adjust width and height to 0. So it doesn't have a size, but we can still give it a border. You can already see this little dot right here. Let us adjust the border width And this gives us yet another rectangle. And now we are adjusting it using border top color, border right color, border left, and border bottom color. But only the border bottom color will get a color, the rest will be transparent. So watch what happens here. By doing that, we can create a triangle as it has the same color as our div container in the background. You can't see it anymore, but when we now reposition it, we will see it again. And positioning works the same way here as before, so we'll set position to absolute and then change it manually by using top and left properties. And here we can finally see it again. As I've said, it has the same color as its background, so it's a seamless transition. If I, for example, take this color away and make it black, you can see that this is what we've created. So it's a triangle on top now. Step 22. Let's select the black mask. It comes right after the white head. Oh, there's a typo. Alright, it's black mask, not black hat. That was my mistake. Step 23. Let's reposition that once again using absolute and then manually top and left, set both to 0. Now the Z index is used once again. We'll set it to 1. It's already on top, so nothing has changed for now. Step 25. Now we're looking for the gray instrument right here. And I have another typo somewhere, let me check it. Alright, here at the end of 15%, it's a comma instead of a semicolon. So we can see this gray instrument div container as well. Once again, it's on top of the off-white character. Let's reposition that. So the 125 pixels for the left puts it in center. We've got a width of 15% for the gray instrument. And in the container on top it's 300 pixels. Let us give this a Z index of 1 as well. And we're already targeting our black dots in step 28. So this was these 5 div containers. It's a class, so we don't need a hashtag but a dot, and then use the class name as a selector. And here we can see it. It's actually 5 elements, that's why it appears to be long. And if we now change the border radius, you can see it. It's not one long element, but 5 smaller ones stacked. So if we set the border radius to 50%, we'll get circles. And now we can see these black dots. We'll adjust them further by adding a display block. We'll put it in center with margin auto, and we'll give it some spacing with margin top. And our final div container here with the ID of 10 table is now selected. And again, we need width, height, background color. And now you can see that the Z index for the elements on top have actually an impact, because the Z index, for example, for the black element or the brown element is 1, and our new orange element has a Z index of 0 by default, so it's below these. Let's reposition that. And if we now change the Z index, it's going to be on top. And we're back in the index.html. We'll add more div containers. So this one's not nested in the off-white character anymore. It needs to have an ID of black character. Let's nest some div containers inside of it. Black hat, gray mask, and white paper. Step 36. We need 2 more div containers. So we'll create 2 more eyes. We've done that before, but this time it's nested in the black character and not in the off-white. We'll make it eyes and left or right. Now we are using our font awesome for the first time. We use eye elements for that. So you can give your text an italic style by using that. But you can also leave it empty and then use these font awesome classes to add icons. So as a class, for example, we use FAS and FA music. And here you can see it on the top left in the browser window. If we add more and more, we'll get more of these icons. Now we are selecting the black character. So that was right here. Once more with height background color. And afterwards we should be able to see it if I haven't made another typo here. And here it is. These icons are still on top. And here is the Z index once more. Let's adjust the position once more. Set it to absolute. Use top and left. But to be able to adjust the Z index, we need to put the position to absolute first. And if we would now change it, let's say to 2, you can see it jumps on top of the orange element. If we set it to 0, it's behind. So you always need this position absolute to adjust it, at least in this example. Let's jump to step 40. We'll select the black hat div right here. And we'll set width and height to 0 and use border style solid. You can see that right here. It's a small dot. Let me make it a bit bigger. And you see this line. Let us adjust the border width. And it becomes more obvious what that is. So here we have our rectangle again. And now we use once more border top, border right, border bottom, and border left to create a triangle. We've done that before here for the white hat. Let me just copy paste this element. And we are in the black hat now. And we'll need to adjust it just a little bit, because the left needs to have a color and the bottom needs to be transparent. But now it should be fine. It has the same color as the background rectangle, so we can't really see it. Let us reposition that. And now we can see it. Step 44. Let us adjust the gray mask right here. I will position it. Let us select the white paper. So here our music icons are nested inside. So here it is. Step 47. Let's reposition it. Step 48. Set the Z index to 1. And it's going to put it on top of the orange rectangle. So as I've said, it's just like the layers in Photoshop. Step 49. And now we're going to style our icons. We'll just have to select the class. So .fa-music, set the display to inline block, and adjust the margin. I'm just going to give it a little bit of spacing and puts it somewhat in center of our white rectangle. We're back in our HTML and we'll add new div elements. This time we'll give them an ID and a class. They both share the same class, but their IDs are going to be different. Let us select the class first now. So both of these new elements are affected. Now we are selecting the ID of one of these elements, the left one. So here it is. So it's only this one that we've selected, at least in this step. And it's all nested inside of this back wall ID. Let us reposition it. And now we're going to select the other one. It's going to get the same color as it has the same class, but we are going to use the ID to adjust its width and height and make it different compared to the left one. And here it is already. Let us reposition this also. Need more div elements in step 56. A bit of a typo once more. Step 57. 4 more elements. These are going to be nested inside of the orange character. Step 58 will create 2 more eyes. Step 59. Now we need 30 elements. So let me create the first one and make sure that I don't make a typo here, because if I copy paste that, I'll have to correct the typo in each and every one. But I should have done it the right way, so class triangle, and then I copy paste it. So we're going from line 49, 30 lines down. We should be fine right here. And line 78. As I've said, make sure that you've got the first one written the right way, otherwise you'll have to do a lot of correcting. Let's go to step 60. 3 more elements. Last one shouldn't have a class, the first one should, and they all have different IDs. So it's guitar left, guitar right, and the last one is the guitar neck. Let me change this one to ID, and I add guitar neck as a value. So only the first 2 have the class guitar, and the last one shouldn't have a class. Step 61. And we're going to add more icons by using this I element and the classes FAS, FA minus bars. So we've used our link in the head of the HTML to link to Font Awesome, and these classes, they define specific icons. Once more, in this case it's simple lines. You can see them on the top left now in the browser display. Let's get back to the CSS and use the orange character selector. It's an ID. And we're back to adding width, height, background color. So it's nothing new, but sometimes it's good to repeat all of this stuff. I guess when you're through this course, you're definitely not going to forget how to use positioning. We'll have to do it here once more in step 63. And you can see the icons, they jump with this element as the icons are nested inside of it. Right here in our index.html. We are targeting the black round head now. It's an ID once more with height, background color. Okay, this has jumped also to somewhat horizontal position. Let us adjust its border radius. I'm going to make it a circle on ellipse. Let us reposition it. and we'll use a z index of -1 for it. So this is going to put it below, right here, most of these elements, which have a z index of 0 or higher. And now we're going to finally target our eyes. We've used that a couple of times. For example, here in the orange character, it was the last time that we've used it. But we've used it before as well. For example, in the gray mask. But only this one has the ID of eyesDiv. So for now we are just targeting this div container that contains the eyes in the orange character div. Let us adjust the position. And now we'll put it to the top by giving it a z index of 3. So here's our triangles. But we are going to select a div container with the ID of triangles. So not all of these individual divs, they have a class of triangle. So don't get that mixed up. And now we're going to target the triangle class. So these are all of these 30 individual div elements. Let's set width and height to 0. And we'll use the border style. So just like we did with the white hat, or the gray hat or black hat on the right hand side. So we're going to use it here as well. And add a border style of solid. And then we'll change the border width. And here we can see this long stripe. If we now adjust the border color once more, already done that 2 times, we will get triangles. Let me just copy paste this element right here. So it contains the same properties. We'll definitely have to adjust the values. What is it? Alright, we need only the right color to have a value of gold, and the rest is going to be transparent. And now we can see these triangles. They are stacked like this. This is the default way for their position. But if we change their display to inline block, they're going to get stacked inside of their div container that they're nested in. So if you look at it right now, it's in the triangles div right here. It's 30 of these in total. And we've got 5 lines, so it's 5 times 6 triangles now inside of this triangles container. Thanks to the display set to inline block, they're going to get stacked in this way instead of just one big vertical line. Let's select the guitar ID. Let's reposition it. And let's put it to the top in our layer stacking order with a Z index of 3. Now we'll use the class guitar. So don't get it mixed up, there's a difference between the class and the ID. The ID was this big container, and nested inside are divs with a class of guitar. And now we can finally see this. And our bars are on top, so these bar icons. Let's use border radius of 50%, and we've got circles. We'll adjust the position of the guitar left, so one of these circles. We'll do the same for the guitar right, the second circle. And now we'll adjust the icons once more. So this time these lines right here are nested inside of the guitar div container. And that puts it somewhat in center of our circles. Let us address the guitar neck. So it's this element right here, behind the two circles. And it's behind it because of the Z index. Let us reposition it. Let's set it to Z index of 3. Step 86. And now we are talking about these I elements, so we've used that 3 times as a class. And now we're finally going to style it a little bit. So once more with width, height, background color, and border radius. Now it's rectangles, and if we add the radius, they're going to get round, a little bit skewed. So here we can see them. Step 87. Let's adjust the class right. So we've used that on our eyes. In step 88, we'll use the class left, which was used for the other eyes. Let's make the icons a bit bigger by using the class selector FAS and changing the font size. This should conclude this section on FreeCodeCamp. Not the most exciting one, I have to say, but go through it yourself and you will definitely understand positioning and how to use these div containers to create simple shapes. So in the curriculum, let me go over this: responsive web design. Here it was, the Picasso painting. It's called intermediate CSS. I don't know if it was truly intermediate, but it was a lot about positioning. I hope this video generally was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.